Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 16 of this class. Congratulations, you have made it to the last week. That is a huge accomplishment, especially with, just the way that things are in the world these days and us still figuring stuff out. So I hope that you're doing well. It's actually been a little chilly the last couple of days, which makes me really happy. Helps me to just sort of feel like it's the time of year that it is. So a couple of things. First of all, to set up your week, you obviously have this assignment, which is due Thursday at noon. Remember that I have been saying, and I sent out that announcement last week, I'm not going to do it again, but that, you need to get through these to unlock the next things to get to the end. So you got a bunch of things to get through this week. So first of all, you get through this by noon on Thursday night. Your initial discussion reply is due, and your assignments are going to be a little bit different this week. And I'm not going to do the groups for the discussion reply. It's going to be everybody. And so it'll just kind of get you a little more reflective about the semester and thinking about things you learned and things you didn't learn and all of that. And then, you have your usual assignments that are due on Sunday nights. In addition, you have test 3. So that is going to unlock Thursday morning, and you'll have both parts just like you have. Plus, there is an additional module that has 3, basically they're like SLO assessment tests, student learning outcomes. So it's just measuring what you have learned in the course of this class. So you'll have those do count as part of your grade. So you've got to get those taken care of. So plan wisely, because this class shuts down at 11:59 on Sunday night. So if it were me, I would shoot to have everything done by Saturday at the latest so that I don't have to think about it. And then I can put the semester to bed and go from there and just enjoy the break. I hope you've had a good class. I know that I've had a good time teaching it, and I've enjoyed reading what you write and all of that. I do sometimes miss the face-to-face class, but I get it, and I enjoy these, and I try to just be creative, engage with you as much as I can in the meantime. Hence these videos. Okay, so this is the last week. You have modules still to go through, which is chapter 19 in the book, and this is Alienated and Back to the Roots Rock. So there's 2 different things. So if you think about what we've learned about. And we're going to still straddle the MTV thing here. But, we've seen rock and roll come. We've seen when it hits the 60s, kicking off with the British invasion, and then it just splitting into a ton of genres. And we're going to continue to see, as we've seen, punk and new wave and hip hop and these things continue on. And so Alienated and Back to Roots Rock are 2 different things. So let's deal with Alienated first of all. So what that means is, as things continued to split and we got into punk and there was glam, and again, keep in mind that a lot of this was happening simultaneously. So there are people that tend to think of new wave as a reaction to punk, when really a lot of new wave was happening at the same time as punk. So, again, nothing exists in a vacuum. That's probably the last time you'll hear me say that in this class. But they're all in this sort of sonic world together, right? You can't not hear what you hear and absorb either directly or indirectly the influences. So when you talk about alienated rock, what we're talking about is the continuation of punk as it morphs and evolves, and the same with glam and electronic and how all these things mix. And so as a result, you end up with, I just want to make sure that I hit it in the order that they hit it. Gothic rock. Gothic rock was influenced, and again, this started before MTV with bands like Bauhaus, and The Cure even were before that time. And so really it was influenced by a lot of the darker sides of things, and we're actually going to see that as well when you talk about death metal, that's in this chapter as well. And then industrial rock you're going to learn about too, that also has roots in a lot of that. Gothic rock tends to be more slow, monotonous. Bauhaus would be the great example, the song Bela Lugosi's Dead. and I've been able to see Bauhaus live, and they are just phenomenal. And The Cure was in that scene. Susie and the Banshees was in that scene, and that of course continues on. There are remnants of that are out there, and you hear about people talking about the goth kids and all that sort of stuff. And so that tends to focus on a lot of the darker, more morose side of things. So you have that. You have industrial rock, which was influenced by one thing that we don't really talk about is there's a term called krautrock, which isn't really acceptable anymore. I mean, for the same way that we wouldn't say other things, but it is considered a genre title. And it's a lot of electronic music, and that all came out of Germany. A lot of it was electronic based, not all of it, but a lot of it. And, so you get Kraftwerk and you get Can and other people like that. And so out of that, you start to get what's industrial. And the industrial rock was influenced by, actually, the early influences go back to the early part of the 20th century. In Italy, there was a group known as the Futurists. A guy by the name of Marinetti wrote this Futurist Manifesto. And they would make concerts back in the early 1900s with, engines and metallic objects and all of that. So when industrial comes out, it's drawing on that, and you'll have bands like Einstürzende Neubauten and Front 242, Skinny Puppy, Ministry, and then it leads you into Nine Inch Nails. And there's in a lot of this music, it's very heavy beat oriented. So a lot of it you can dance to it. And actually, it's those are funny memes. You may have already seen them with goth kids dancing and with industrial kids dancing. I'm not making any judgments one way or another, but those things are out there. So you have these different things, and then you have post-punk, and that gets into a whole weird argument because there are people that will talk about how post-punk, you can find the roots of post-punk before punk, and it's like, well, post means after, so whatever, we can all decide, people can do what they want to do. But when you're dealing with post-punk, you're basically saying, okay, well, where does it move from the influences, the anger, the aggression, the different aspects that were punk, and how does that evolve and change? Because music is always evolving and changing. And out of that, you get Husker Du, amazing band out of Minneapolis, that, headed up by Bob Mould, and has had Sugar and is out there on his own now. So you have Husker Du, you have the Replacements, where they're kind of absorbing these things in. We learned about Minor Threat, and then out of Minor Threat, you get into Fugazi. Same Ian MacKaye, who's or Ian MacKaye, depending on how you hear it pronounced. That is taking that post-punk through, and then post-punk, really, that thread gets us to the Pixies, which then gets us to Nirvana. So you can't have Nirvana without the Pixies. And in fact, just a fun fact, Nirvana didn't even want to release Smells Like Teen Spirit because it basically follows the Pixies blueprint. And Kurt Cobain was actually kind of embarrassed by it and felt like it was just a Pixies ripoff. But thankfully for all of us, they, decided to put it in, and away they went. And then, of course, Nirvana became huge for a little while. And so post-punk then leads into that. You're going to learn about the continuation of, you learn about hard rock and heavy metal, and then you get into punk, and then they come together really in speed metal, and you have the big three in speed metal, which is Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer. And then out of speed metal, you get thrash metal, and you have death metal. So you're going to learn about those things as they go through, and as people tend to fragment and get more alienated. Then you're going to learn about back to the roots rock. So this interesting thing happens. If you think about 50s rock and roll and all of that, as things were changing, most rock historians, and I tend to agree with them, really will say that it's two bands/artists that really revived or saved rock and roll. We learned about how the British saved rock and roll in the 60s and the blues, and it was going on its way out. Think about the disco world, think about the pop world, all of that stuff that was going on. And it was really the Ramones and Bruce Springsteen who really saved what was rock and roll. the Ramones drawing on those bubblegum chord progressions and melodies and all of that. And then Springsteen, who, born and raised in New Jersey, played in bands, started his own group, was a bar band, unparalleled, started writing songs, very influenced sonically by Bob Dylan, or not sonically, but lyrically by Bob Dylan, very influenced sonically by rock and roll, by soul, and by the wall of sound production from Phil Spector. So when you listen to when Bruce is like hitting his stride, particularly with Born to Run in 1975, you hear all of these things come together in a really amazing way. And Bruce's career, he's still out there, he's still making music, but really he saved rock and roll. And of course, now we're in another period. So Bruce got signed in the early 70s, made it big. In the later 70s, made it even bigger because of MTV, and has had this really illustrious career throughout. And Bruce is an artist's artist. In other words, he writes what he wants to write. He makes the music he wants to make, whether it's solo, whether it's with the E Street Band. And then, he's got some records that are reviewed higher than others, but he is a consummate professional, and he's going to be driven by his artistic vision, and it will come as it may, right? So you're going to have a chance to then learn more about Bruce, and you can see his autobiography up on the shelf behind me, below which is one of my all-time favorite bands, which is The Who. I love the Beatles. I can't recommend highly enough that you watch the Beatles Get Back on Disney Plus. It's 8 hours. It starts off slow, but the slow start off is important when you get to the payoff at the end of episode 3. And you can take it in half-hour chunks or whatever. But when you go back and you watch what the Beatles did, then you wonder what happened. And I think a lot of it is technology got in the way and money got in the way. But when you watch the Beatles musically, especially when they get to the final end where they're playing on the rooftop, that's a band at its best, doing what it does at its best. So Bruce was very much influenced by them as well. Everybody was influenced by them. But you're going to learn about those things. So that's it. You know what you need to do for the week. This is the time to carve the time out, devote the time that you need to do good work, to finish strong, and have a great week. I'm here if you need to reach out. I will send out my normal Thursday reminder. That's what I do. So this is the last welcome video. Thursday will be the last reminder. Thursday reminder. Sunday I'll send out a reminder as well. But I, personally, try to have it all done before Sunday gets here. That's it. Have a great week. I've enjoyed having you in the class, and I wish you all the best.